looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, happy Thursday evening, folks. This is Scotty Roberts. Welcome to the program. This is, of course, the Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. Check out the schedule, find out where you can hear this show and a lot of the reruns throughout the day over on their schedule. So go check that out at Odyssey One, ODYSY1.com, and see all the goodness that is Odyssey Radio. And, of course, if you are here live tonight watching the YouTube channel, this is the simulcast of the show, technically or officially, not technically tonight, because we're not broadcasting live over at Odyssey tonight, but we are broadcasting live here on the YouTube channel. If you're here, you already know where you are, but if you're watching this in one of the other outlets or catching this another time, the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. So come on over. You can check out over, I think it's probably close to 600 archived shows of the Intrepid radio program. If you go down into the link, down below, not the link, the page down below for the YouTube channel, and you can watch a lot of stuff, and you'll see all the old live chat rooms that went on there. You can't contribute to them once the show is over. You can watch, you can see, or you can just watch and listen to the show. So check it out. And if you are not a member of this channel, go ahead and become a member. Just click the little join button down below the window here. And it'll show you 3 ways you can become a member of this channel. Show is always open and no charge to anybody who wants to come in. But if you want to support this work and the research, we got a $2 a month, $5 a month, and $15 a month. The lowest one, $2 a month, that's $12 a year. Oh, it shows you what kind of math I do. That's $24 a year. Whew, math is hard. And so so you can see how you can become a member. And if you look at people over in the chat room, you see the little wrench, and it's not even a wrench anymore. It's a little S-shaped kind of thing next to their name. They're all members of the channel. And so come on in. I don't want to make this like an offering plate on Sunday morning. As that offering comes and the Holy Spirit does move you, throw in your $2. It's a joke, kids. I don't really mean that. So, you know what that does remind me of, though? That old ditty, and I brought it up on the show. It was a more serious point when I did. There was that old poem that I heard an old pastor of mine used to quote, and it was in context to what he was speaking about. And it says, "I'd like to buy $2 worth of God, please. Not enough to explode my soul or change my spirit, but enough to equal a cup of warm milk in the evening or a snooze under a tree in the sunshine during the summer. I want a pound of the Almighty in a paper sack. Give me $2 worth of God, please." And we were talking about being at arm's reach and so on, but Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything we're going to talk about tonight, but it came to mind because I mentioned $2. And unless you're a Kevin Smith fan, and there's a movie that would remind you, I want my $2. So anyway, all that coming off of, if you'd like to hit the join button, you can. There, I don't like to make a big deal out of that, and I just made a big deal out of it by just having fun with it. So thanks to everybody who's here. I see all of you out there, at least those of you who are in the chat room. If you are not in the chat room and you would like to be, go to the YouTube channel and click on this show, and you can bring up the chat room there live. And I want to say, hey, good evening to Morgan Snow. Good to see you out there in the chat room. Barbie D, nice to have you. Field Guy, glad you're there. And of course, my first mate, my first officer, Master Finn, is here. I also saw Matthew Sainsbury very early on. I'm not sure if he's still here now. And who else we got in here? Brianna is here. Learman and Bree, and I'm sure John is probably around somewhere as well. Corey Blake, good to see you, brother. Glad you're here in the chat room. And, as everybody keeps coming in and filters in, I can't say hi to everybody because we're going to get into the show. But if you're here at the beginning, it's nice to see you. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you take your time. It means a lot to me to come here and just listen to me go on and on and on. Now, we've been covering for the last 3 weeks, we've been on this series about the life of Jesus Christ, the historical Jesus. And I'd been comparing that to going under the title Jesus Potter, Harry Christ. And it's the fascinating comparisons between two of history's most celebrated literary characters. Now, whether you believe Jesus was a real person or not, I believe he was. I believe he existed in history. Whether you believe that or not, he is one of the most celebrated literary characters if you consider the Bible literature. And next to him, believe it or not, is Harry Potter, as far as celebrity goes and numbers of sales of books over the years and etc. So we were looking at the comparisons because Harry Potter actually becomes a Christ type, if you will. Not a theological type, a Christ type by the storyline. And even J.K. Rowling admitted that, toward the later books, she said he really did, in the back of her head, take on that kind of a character. The giving, the sacrificing of self so others may live, the coming back, and so on and so forth. And she talked about that in a great deal. But we've been using that as kind of a launch pad to get into, if you're not familiar with what we've been doing the last 3 weeks, this series on looking at the historical Jesus, Gnosticism, the Gnostic Christians, looking at the early church, looking at the historians who actually wrote about Jesus, but none of them firsthand. It was all second and third hand information. Tertullian, Josephus, and the others. There were 4 in all. And so this is what we've been doing. But tonight, we're going to set that all aside. Because tonight, I've got a guest that's coming in. This is a friend of mine. Cheryl Lynn Carter is a friend of mine. And she wrote a book. And I had, the reason this came up is I had the great opportunity to design the cover for her new book. And she gave me that project. And as the project finished, she let me know yesterday that the book is now out and that it's available over on Amazon. And so I wanted to have her come on the show and talk a bit about her book. And I'm going to tell you something. I am not overly versed in the topic that she wrote about. And I'm going to admit that I have not even read the book yet. I designed the cover. I haven't had a chance to read the book. I wrote the back cover, or read the back cover, and that's about it. I have an idea of what she's talking about and where she's going, but I'm going to let her fill in all those blanks, of course. So tonight, Cheryl, who's sitting in the wings, I'm going to bring her in just a minute. She's a psychic medium. She's a remote viewer. That's something I want to ask her about all by itself. She's a member of Project PSI, a team of psychic and forensic remote viewers responsible for rescuing missing children, shutting down human trafficking, closing cold case murders. I actually went many, many years ago, over 25 years ago, to a remote viewing psychic to find my children at the time, who had been taken and were in hiding. And so that's a longer story that I'm not even going to get into, but she was incredibly accurate. Now, Cheryl, having her first paranormal experience at age 4, she built the foundation for becoming a researcher over the past 20 years now. And her passion for one haunted location afforded her the opportunity to appear and consult in Chris Halton's Haunted Earth paradocumentary, entitled A Haunting at Bachelor's Grove. And it's one of the most haunted cemeteries in the Midwest. And Cheryl's an experiencer. If you don't know what that is, she will tell you tonight, because I know what that is. Do you know what an experiencer is when you start getting into abductee experiences? She's a member of MUFON and CE5. She served as a consultant for Thomas Conwell's book, They Are Here, Central U.S. UFOs. She's an international author of multiple books, including this one we're going to talk about tonight, Dimensions, Mysterious Triangles of the U.S., and she's the co-author of Digging into Skinwalker Ranch. That is a fascinating place. I want to get her opinion on the show that's been out on Skinwalker Ranch. She's a freelance journalist for the ChicagoHauntings.com. She's a Paranormal Underground magazine, which is a Paranormal Underground magazine, iHeart magazine, and Mind, Body, Spirit guide. She's an explorer, a photographer, specializing in images of haunted locations. You can find her on Facebook. She's all over the place, and tonight we're going to talk about her book, and I'm going to add her to the stream right now. And we say, hey, Cheryl.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Fantastic. I'm glad that you came on tonight. Thank you for giving me that long, rambling preamble to getting you in here. So you look good. Here you are. You're on almost like being on TV. Kind of, but not. So welcome to everybody that's over in my chat room here and the listeners to this show. And tonight I want to talk. And by the way, that little number, if you see that little number that's up in the corner here, that tells how many people are in the chat room right now. That does not give you any reflection of how many people are actually watching the show. And so just so you know, you're now not just talking to 8 of us. So I want to promote your book. And so I want to start talking about your book. And then I want to ask you a couple of questions about yourself and the things that you've been into, the things you've experienced, especially the issue of being an experiencer, which is probably a whole show all by itself. I'd love to talk to you about remote viewing, something that fascinates the hell out of me. And so let's start with your book. I do not have a picture I can throw up in this format. But people, if you go over and look up her book on Amazon, there is a link. Cheryl, why don't you tell us a little bit about what does the book mean, the title, Dimensions, Mystifying or Mysterious Triangles of the United States, of the U.S. What the heck are you talking about?
Okay, everybody's heard of the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
And they think that's just the most famous place in the world, but there's actually 10 more that I found in the United States. And the Lake Michigan Triangle has more ships and planes missing than the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh.
Many more.
So I did not know that.
Yeah.
So now where are these places and what causes these places?
I just think there's different dimensions and realms and energy fields. We're not sure what causes all the strange stuff there.
Okay. Is it a thing that has anything to do with like ley lines, or do all these places have a commonality that makes you go?
There's ley lines, vortex. There's all kinds of strange stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
They all have that in common too. Yeah.
And what now you kind of answered this already, but I'm very curious. What do you believe causes that energy in those particular places to do what it does?
It's energy coming from the earth. It's a
Okay.
natural energy.
All right. And that natural energy can do what it make. We've got plane disappearances, people disappearances, things like that. Is that? Do you have any correlations? What causes that? Do you know?
Well, I think maybe sometimes this energy opens a portal and it goes to another
Okay.
dimension, another place.
Okay. All right. And how many did you say you've identified in the United States?
I found 10. I'm sure there's more, but I have 10.
10. All right. Well, and by the way, folks, if you are wanting to call in, I just saw somebody calling in, but this is somebody I recognize the style of caller coming in. That's somebody trolling. Folks, if you want to call in, you know what I'm going to put the link in. If you've got questions of Cheryl as we're going in, I'm going to paste it in the chat room right now. There you go, folks. If you want to call in and ask any questions. So now I was reading just in the little write-up, the blurb that you have on the book itself, that's over on Amazon. It says there's places on this earth that feel eerie. They're unnatural. They're sacred. They're mystical. They're revered, so unique, you go on here, that they're thought to belong to the gods. And according to some, the earth holds on to secrets that whisper of mystical energy, frequency, vibrations. The ancients knew of the special powers of these anomalous places that hint to the possibility of stepping through a doorway, enabling one to traverse time and move through dimensions. Now, that's what you've written about your book itself, the blurb that's over there on Amazon. So tell me a little bit about this. And Doug, I see you over there in the wings. We'll get to you in a minute. Tell me a little bit about what fascinated me there was the traversing time, traversing dimensions. So let's say you're wandering in one of these places where you've identified some of these triangles. What was it about what you discovered that led you to believe this is one of these places? Is it the lore behind it, the way people talk? Is it something you've experienced there? What happens to somebody when they wander, when they traverse time and dimension?
Well, see, I live right by the Lake Michigan Triangle.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot of these stories, and since I'm a member of MUFON, I've heard a lot of the things that have gone on in the Lake Michigan Triangle, and I thought that was very fascinating. And so then I wanted to learn more about other ones, and then I discovered there are a lot of strange places.
Now, somebody in our chat room, Matt Finn, he said he's been to that area. He said the first ship lost in the Michigan Triangle was 1670s.
Yeah.
And no wreckage was ever found to date in a Clearwater Lake, or a non-salt water, I guess.
I mean,
What do you call it?
There's times that ships are lost. There's times that the people on the ship are lost, but the ship is there. How can that be?
Yeah.
Where do the people go?
That's an interesting question. Let's we got Doug Stack, who's a caller. He's sitting in the wings over here. I'm going to bring him in. Hey, Doug. How you doing, brother?
All right.
Cheryl, meet Doug. He's one of our regular listeners and a good friend of the show. What's on your mind, Doug?
I just kind of, I just jumped into this conversation. I just had a phone call, but so I didn't hear the first few minutes of the show.
Okay.
Louisiana, that's a big triangle, or I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. I know in Texas they have the rock wall, which is an odd place, and I've been to a bunch of places, but I'm just trying to figure out Louisiana. I know a lot of stuff goes on over here.
What do you know about Louisiana, Cheryl?
I didn't do Louisiana.
Uh-oh.
I said I know there's more. I said I know there's more.
you should really look into Louisiana, and not just the New Orleans area. You got St. Francisville that has a lot of weird things, and further into the state, you know, at one point, the the west side of the state, from almost Shreveport down to Lake Charles and everything, was pretty much considered no man's land, or it's where they banished all the criminals to run wild. There was no that was in the 1800s, and you know, if you were a criminal, all you had to do was run to those parishes on the border of Texas, and the cops wouldn't even come near you.
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
suppose a lot like maybe you talked about Skinwalker Ranch. Is that one of these areas that you would deem to be a triangle? Doug, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to drop you. I got Ruben Fast Horses standing in the wings. I'm going to bring him in a few. So, Doug,
Yeah,
thanks
later,
for
guys.
calling in, brother. So, what about Skinwalker Ranch? What do you know about that, Cheryl?
Well, everybody just thinks all this strange stuff is happening on the ranch, but the whole Uinta Basin has strange things going on.
Okay.
It's
What
just
kind
that
of stuff?
cattle mutilations, UFOs, again, people disappearing,
Mhm.
time lost.
Lost time. That's an interesting one. I guess that, to me, that ties into my question about the time travel. Maybe we could hit that up for just a second again. Is this something, now you being an experiencer, is this something that you experienced at any of these types of sites? Do you tie those things together? Or are they completely different things?
Well, I says I'm in part of the Lake Michigan Triangle, and one day I'm just driving downtown, and I look up in the sky, clear blue sky. All of a sudden, the sky just opened up, and this silver disc came out, and it's hovering over me. And the weird thing was, everything around me was standing still. Nothing was moving anymore. I'm still watching this disc up in the sky. I don't know how long I was watching it. It's like nobody else could see it, but like I said, nothing else was moving around me. And then all of a sudden it just went, the sky opened up, it went back into the sky, and the sky closed up, and I lost like 20 minutes. I don't know what happened.
So
Strange experience.
now, so you don't remember anything that happened while you were gone? Just a lapse of time.
Right. I couldn't take my eyes off of the crap.
Okay.
I just couldn't.
Now, you know, there was something very interesting. I don't know if this is anywhere near the same thing. A couple of weeks ago, Rainey told me that she's got a Fitbit, and it tracks her heart rate and her sleep at night and things like that. And she's got close to 50 minutes from one night where it completely dropped off. It was running the whole time, but it wasn't taking any readings, and then it picked up 50 minutes later. She has like a 50-minute slot of missing time. Now, my wife's a little weird and a little crazy, as everybody knows. I love her dearly, but she's got these qualities that she says, I didn't want to tell you about this or that or the other thing because you'd think I'm crazier than you already think I am. And I'm like, honey, I don't believe you're crazy. I know there's weird stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
So she's had experiences of a certain type. Would somebody who experiences missing time where they don't actually physically remember that, hey, where did that last 53 minutes go, or 12 minutes or 9 minutes or whatever it might be, but she looks at a piece of technology that has what appears to be a gap in time for her. Is that the kind of thing? Have you ever seen anything measurable by devices, or is this all personal experience?
No, I haven't had anything measurable.
Okay. All right. Because I've got my friend Ruben is hanging in the wings here. Ruben is my Lakota brother. He is my Misu, my little brother, and he makes appearances on the show quite a bit. And he saw you were coming on, and he was going to be curious to ask you a couple of questions about some things. Merely from he and I have talked a lot about the overlaps of mythology things like elementals, things like world, the kinds of things you're writing about. I don't even know how to encapsulate it. World paranormal types of activities, things like that, and how they overlap with each other. And I think he wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So I'm going to bring him in, and here we go. Here's Ruben Fasthorse. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to drop my, I've got the overlay for the show in here. There, I just turned it off so we can actually see it. See Ruben and you. How are you, Ruben? Can you hear me, Misu?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm hearing an echo through Cheryl and also Scotty.
Oh, okay. It might be
See,
because I don't have a headset on.
I'm good. All
right.
Yes.
So you wanted to make some statements, ask Cheryl some questions about some of the overlaps with Native American culture and mythology compared to some of the things you see she's written about. I think we have a lapse, a little bit of a time warp here with Ruben. Ruben, either you can't hear me or we're so lagged with you that I may have to drop you, Ruben, because I don't think you can hear us. Ruben, nope, he can't. So, oh, you're waving. Can you hear me? I don't think he hears me.
No.
So I'm gonna remove Ruben from the call just because I don't want it to be so distracting and waste too much time on that. So what do you know about that? Because I know he wanted to ask you some questions about some of that overlap. How much of this did you research the history of these places, and do they go further back into Native American culture in the United States and so on? Or do you find it more powerful there? What's going on with that?
I did start out with the history of all the places, and yes, there is a lot of Native America history before it comes to our day. Yes, sometimes there's some curses that they put on the land.
Mm-hmm.
Different stories like that. Yeah.
Now, what is the power of the curses there, do you think? And what would be the purpose of them?
I guess they just got mad at somebody that was living there, and they put a curse on the land.
Ah.
There's a lot of that. You know, that's
sure.
That's how, like Skinwalker Ranch, that's where the Skinwalkers come from, that the Navajo put a curse.
What do you think is going on at the Skinwalker Ranch? What is that all about?
Well, I said the whole basin is the same thing, and
right.
I'm not sure what I believe a Skinwalker really is. I think maybe it's some kind of entity that projects the whatever scares you the most. If you're afraid of a wolf, you might see a wolf. If you're afraid of a thunderbird, you might see a thunderbird. I'm not sure it's really a creature.
Okay.
Because really, the people that became skinwalkers were actually medicine men that start dabbling into the darker side.
Okay.
That's what the skinwalkers really are.
And with your experience in there, now I've watched the television show they've been doing, and it seems pretty fascinating. Things that they're uncovering there. What do you think? What is that? Is there something under the ground there? Is it just the grounds itself? The dirt, if you will, itself, the soil, the bedrock? What's going on that site?
I actually remote viewed there one time.
Oh.
And I feel that there's overlapping dimensions.
Oh, now that's interesting. What boy, I don't even know if we have a point of reference to be able to say what does that do? What does an overlapping dimension do?
I'm not sure what it does, but I saw a native guy there. He was standing by a beaver dam.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept pointing to the east, trying to show me something. And this is the weird part. He looked familiar to me. And I says, how would he look familiar to me? I've never been there. And then I realized when I go to Sweat Lodge, this man has been coming to me for like 6 years in a vision where I saw him by this beaver dam. This is crazy. And he protects the ranch.
Oh,
He's still I mean, he's been there forever, but he protects the ranch.
I see Ruben is making some hand signals. Ruben, I'm going to try to bring you in again. I brought you in, and I don't know if you could not hear us, or let's give it a shot here. All right, Ruben. Ruben, can you hear us? You're on, brother. Misu, you're on.
I think about the.
Yep. You're good.
I think about what she's saying is that it's true. It's true.
Okay.
And she is. But until you experience it,
now, have you experienced it, Ruben? Okay.
yes, I have.
All right. All right. Is there anything directly that you wanted to ask Cheryl about with this, or any kind of comparative that you wanted to make? I think we might be having some trouble still. Ruben, I gotta drop you out of the window just because I think we're struggling with sound with you and so on. So just sit there. We can try again. Cheryl, that was my friend and my brother, my Misu in Lakota, my little brother, Ruben Fast Horse. And so he has experienced that. I think we must be getting a lag with him or something,
Yeah,
because
looked
he'd
like.
stop. I think he's not hearing everything, or he's getting some nasty feedback from us. I know in talking with Ruben that he has experienced many of these things. He's seen things like the elementals and things like that, the fairy folk and so on, as we would call them, say in Celtic or European culture, and he's seen them from the Native American culture. Now, Ruben is he's a language revivalist. He's a historian, and so he's very well versed in a lot of this, especially with the Lakota. And so, what do you know? Do you know of anything? I'm just curious, in the region that he hails from, in the whole, think of the Black Hills, Pahasapa, think of Lakota territory and other places up there. Do you think that have you experienced anything in those regions? I know Utah is out a bit further and a bit south, but what do you know about the Dakotas?
I have not been there. I've been to Montana, Utah, Nevada. Have not been to the Dakotas.
Okay. All right. So I was just curious. And so tell me a little bit about, in this book, what are people going to expect when they go pick up your book? What is your book going to, in a sense, reveal to them or teach them or tell them about? What is the main message of your book that people are going to pick up by reading it?
That everything that we thought we knew, we didn't really know.
Okay.
Because there's so much high strangeness. And one thing, I didn't go out to prove a certain point when I was writing, but I found that every one of these triangles has something in common: UFOs.
Ah.
Every one of them.
Now, that was an element we actually dropped into the cover very subtly in the upper right-hand corner of the cover.
I like that.
When I designed that, because you had made
Didn't know
mention of that.
either.
And say that, I'm sorry, what?
And you didn't even know that.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. I think I saw that you had done UFO research, so I extrapolated that and I brought that into the book cover. What do you make of the UFO connection to all of this?
I find it's fascinating because I'm a member of MUFON.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of strange things in the sky around Michigan. And I'm a member of CE5, and we've had some strange things happen during our sky watches. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Why they're here, we don't know.
Okay. What do you see any? I read an article by the quite prolific Nick Redfern many years ago, probably about the time I met you for the first time in 2009 or 2010. We met at the Mount Washington Hotel, I think, for the first time. You and I, and if I'm correct, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's where my mind seems to go. And about the same time, Nick Redfern had released an article, and we put it into Taps Para magazine. That's back when I was the editor-in-chief of Taps Para magazine. And in that, he was talking about how there was a government organization within the Pentagon is where they're housed. And he had a lot of information. I'm going off the top of my head trying to remember this now from that long ago. But I can't remember what they were called, but they were starting to deduce that they believed that the demonic claims about UFOs and aliens and stuff like that they thought that there was more. Now, how do I describe this without sounding too weird theologically? They weren't being theological about it, but they were saying the stories from theology about the demonic and so on, that they're believing that this might be the tie-ins to what people are now claiming are UFOs, or the things they call demonic were actually UFOs or visitors from somewhere else. So what do you make of that? And I'm trying to think of the name of the organization because I thought it would help, and it's not coming to me. It will by the time I'm done with the show.
Because yes, so many people that, or you have schizophrenia or stuff like
right.
that, and you really don't. You had a UFO sighting. Something happened to you. This was real.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're not crazy.
Right.
And it's happening to more and more people, and the more with TV and YouTube and everybody's talking about it now. Everybody goes, "Oh, it happened to me too." Now I can talk about it too. So it's good when people share their stories.
Yes, and I would imagine that all of that starts to also tie into Native American culture.
Right.
The Native American culture, their view of the Thunderbird, which was mentioned. Their view of, and I'm just pulling things off the top of my head here. And I wish we could get Ruben to be able to interact with us. For some reason, we're not able to. Ruben, I see you putting your hands up. You can hear us, but when I bring you in, you don't seem to be able to hear us. I can try. I'm going to try Ruben one more time because I think he's got some good points that he wants to, some correlations he wants to make and wants to ask you about them. So, Ruben, let's give you another try here. Okay, yes. You can hear me now. All right.
I hear you.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead with your comments and your questions for Cheryl.
The man that's talking, shut up. Shut the fuck up, because I'm talking you from a Native American perspective. Nobody hears a Native American perspective.
Who
I am going to say it.
Okay. What are you hearing?
I
Ruben?
am talking.
Yes.
Say it, bitch.
I'm not quite sure what you're talking to or who you're hearing, Ruben.
I come from the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, and I grew up in Paha Azizi, Pine Ridge. All right, let me say this. Diamo. Say it. Yeah.
Me?
No, we're talking
Okay.
Lakota.
Right.
So I want to say this. What Scotty's saying, I am saying what I'm saying. I'm talking in Lakota. I am saying this. With Scotty, okay, you say it first.
I'm not sure what you want me to say, Ruben.
No, just listen to between both of us. We're mad.
Hey, Ruben, I'm going to put you on hold for a minute. Hold on here. Okay, Cheryl and everyone else, I'm not quite sure what that is. There's something, I don't know if Ruben's hearing somebody else talk. I don't know if it's a spiritual thing. I don't know if it's a point he's trying to make. So I lost his point a little bit. I'm not quite sure where he was going. It was hard to follow. And so, Ruben, I will talk to you more after the show. Let me get back to you when we're all done tonight, because I want to check in on you. I want to make sure you're okay, because that was coming off awfully strange. So, Cheryl, with we can move on from what Ruben was saying. I know you don't speak Lakota, and I only speak a couple of words, and that's it. And so I'm not quite sure where Ruben was going. So I'm going to find out, and I can maybe get back to you. Matt Finn has something that he could say, but he's not gonna say that right now. And so, taking the experience we just had with Ruben, I have seen a lot of spiritual experience. I don't know if Ruben was addressing something out here. It sounded almost like he wasn't talking to you or me.
Right.
And so I'm not sure if that's what it was. I'll get some clarity. So I know Doug Stack says he wasn't hearing either of us, but Doug, when I would say something, Ruben would wave because he would, I'm here. So, yeah, Leslie, that's true. Ruben makes some fascinating comments. So anyway, let's leave it at that for the moment. Let's jump back into what you and I were talking about. I would really like to get you connected with Ruben because I think he's got some great things to say. He's got some great points from his culture and his understanding of things and where he grew up. So talk to us a little bit more about. I frankly want to ask you, what is the thing that you really would like to express? You're into so many of these little areas, well, big areas. In the bigger picture, I'm trying to look at the big circle with all the different dots inside the circle that you cover. What are some of the things that you find are you're into ghosts, you're into UFOs, experiencer? Talk to us a little bit about that, about experiencing. You're into a remote viewing. These are all things. It's almost like you've opened up Pandora's box for yourself, and you've got all these things that are coming at you. And this Dimensions book is just one aspect of the things that you do and the things that you see and experience. So I want to hear more about your experiences. I want to hear more about the remote viewing. Talk to us a little bit about that. What brought you into those things? What was it, the one experience you've already talked about that drew you into that? Have you had more than one experience as an abductee or an experiencer?
Well, the only other thing I've seen, and I've seen it 3 times when I was driving to work in the morning, there'd be a perfectly clear blue sky, and there'd be this rod of light up in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it wasn't really a specific shape. It was a light.
Mm-hmm.
And as you watched it, it would start to rotate, and it would go to the 3 o'clock position and stay there. And then it would rotate back up to 12, and it would just turn off. And then another morning when I saw the light on the right side of the road. And all of a sudden one showed up on the left side. That one divided into two. The one on the right started rotating to the 3 o'clock position. It went back up. The two went together, and then both lights just turned out. I don't know what the heck that was. I've seen it 3 times.
And so
craft, it was just a light.
Now, when you saw the craft, did that automatically usher in the missing time? Did it usher in the? Did you have what we might call, from being uneducated about it, the traditional, or the what we might say is the commonplace abductee? Meaning, did you see aliens? Did you see the inside of a ship? Did you see?
I don't know if I went in anywhere. All I know is everything around me stood still. There were no moving cars. There were no people. Everything stopped. And I couldn't take my eyes off the craft. So, did I go in? I don't know.
Right.
And there's so many people that don't remember their experience also, All I know is I lost time.
Okay. And now talk about a little bit about remote viewing too. You said you had, was it the Lake Michigan thing that you said you had remote viewed, or Skinwalker Ranch? Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about that. I've always been fascinated with Skinwalker Ranch, with what goes on there, with the things, other stories I've heard from other people that both you and I know who have experienced things there. So at Skinwalker, you've remote viewed there. You've remote viewed it in other places. Talk to me about I've actually heard. I'm jumping around a bit on this because I want to get my thought clear on it for you. There was a man that I met through my mother. It was just a gathering, a party she had at her house. And a guy I met 10, 15 years ago who said he was working as a remote viewer for the CIA, of all things, and that he got out of it because it got too thick and too heavy for him and so on. And he was talking about how when you were remote viewing, you always needed to have somebody there who could pull you back, so you wouldn't get stuck in that other place. He also said that there were people that would notice him if he was remote viewing in, say, Russia. And he mentioned being in a warehouse once and looking for something, and a security guard came in and flashed a flashlight on him. And he thought maybe the guy knew he was there, or could feel that he was there, or even see him. So tell me about your experiences with remote viewing.
See, that's something I've been doing all my life before I even knew there was a word for it. And probably about 5-6 years ago, there was this team of remote viewers that were looking for missing people. And they asked me if I would join. And probably one of my favorite ones, it was one of the first experiences. There was a girl in Romania that was missing. Now, I don't know anything about Romania. I don't know what it looks like, what the streets look like. And all of a sudden, I saw cobblestone streets. There were these buildings, and I saw her walking. And all of a sudden, there was an alleyway. And she's walking past the alleyway, and a man grabbed her. And he took her to either an old warehouse or a factory. I saw the inside. There was machinery. Nobody's been in there for a long time. It was all dusty. I heard a train whistle outside. And when we gave that information to the authorities over there, they knew exactly where this warehouse was. And when they went in there, they found a couple girls. It was like a human trafficking ring. Now, I didn't know anything about Romania.
Wow.
But yet I could. But when I remote view, sometimes I know people can see me there, but I don't feel like I can't come back by myself. I don't.
Sure.
That's a weird thing. I never heard that before.
I just heard that from this particular guy, and I couldn't tell you the veracity of that for everybody who does this. So, but Do you ever fear getting stuck and unable to come back?
I don't know that I'm going there. I think I'm just seeing there.
Okay. All right.
I only know one time I went someplace because somebody was on Facebook saying that their brother was missing and they're afraid he's going to do something to himself. Just a random person that I didn't even know. And so I saw him sitting under a bridge down by a river. And she says he won't answer his phone. And I saw his phone. I was there with him because I saw his phone sitting on the ground, but he had it turned off. And I tried to pick up his phone to hand it to him, but I couldn't pick it up. That's something I always wanted to do in our remote view, is to pick something up or bring something back with me. And I couldn't pick it up. And I
couldn't do it. Okay.
Yeah. And I told him, I says, would you please turn your phone on and call your sister? She's worried about you. And a minute later, she says he called me. So he did hear me.
Okay. Well, tell me this. Brianna, a friend of mine who's in the chat room tonight, she has so many questions about somebody that she once was very close to who passed on. And it's not, I don't know if that has anything to do, Brianna, over there, if you were thinking there's remote viewing or what there is, something you can do to connect with him. But I thought that was interesting that she brought that up right at that juncture about what we're talking about. Matt Finn says it's an historically weird place where many families have experienced paranormal activities and was purchased by Robert Bigelow, who's connected with the U.S. government. He studied the ranch for years. He was talking about Skinwalker to somebody else in the chat room, I think. And it's in Utah. And I was actually very close to Skinwalker Ranch, like within an hour and a half of it when I was working out in Utah for a while. And I never got there.
Yeah,
You've never been close. But you remote viewed there.
Yeah.
And you saw a Native American, what you saw, you said you thought it was a medicine man?
Medicine man, yeah.
Or I pull that out of my head? Okay.
No, medicine man.
And he was trying to show you something or give you something, or
he was even when I was in Sweat Lodge, he would try to show me something, but yet I couldn't see what it was. And I go, and there he is again, showing me something. And I says, what are you trying to show me? He says, you'll know when you get here. I was supposed to go there. And then I got sick and I couldn't take the trip out there. I was supposed to go there. I wanted to know, what is he trying to show me? Is it something important that they need to know? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Do you think if you were to go there that you would find out?
I was hoping. I was hoping I could go there and see if he would tell me something else. I don't know what was so important that he wanted to show me. And another time I had this crazy dream about the ranch. And I was dreaming, I wasn't awake. And I was seeing all these like numbers, zeros, ones, and there'd be a couple too. It was just compiling into my brain. It was a download, like somebody was downloading something into my brain. And I woke up and go, that was a crazy dream. And I went back to sleep, and it continued and continued. And I saw these two figures, and they weren't exactly shadow figures because I could see they had eyes, and
sure,
they didn't seem like aliens. And I don't know why I thought they were interdimensional beings. I don't know why I thought that. And I kept saying, I don't understand. What does all this mean? And again, they said, you'll find out when you get here. But I didn't get there.
Interesting.
So I have unanswered questions.
I had something similar to that with my Egyptian experiences. So, yeah, I think I have just a little touch.
What did they download into my brain? I don't know.
Right. And that's worth finding out. How are you going to find out?
I don't know. I have to go there, I guess.
You know, that's the same question I was left with my experiences in Egypt, is that we were being told, you've come this far. There's so much. Take my hand. I was told, take my hand. I need to show you more. And I'm like, and when you regain your presence of mind, you're like, what am I supposed to know? What am I missing? What I'm here. Show me. Give me something. And sometimes you're left in bewilderment, wondering, where do I go next, and what do I say next, and what do I do next?
Yeah, well, I don't know why they're so mysterious. You're trying to tell me something, and then
Right. Right.
I don't
Well,
understand.
Cheryl, your book, Dimensions, Mysterious Triangles of the U.S., is available now over on Amazon. And apparently I copied the link and I threw the wrong link into the chat room. I'm going to try that. So at least I saw somebody say something about that. So, folks, here is Cheryl's book. You can also find her on Facebook. Do you have an official website, Cheryl, that you would send people to?
www.CherylLynnCarter.com.
CherylLynnCarter.com. Pardon me. Well, since I don't have a producer or an engineer, I do have Matt Finn and others, but I'll type that out because I know how to spell your name. CherylLynnCarter.com. There it is, folks. You can go check out her website, and you can see more about what she does and who she is. And do check out her book. Go pick it up. I'm sure it's going to be a fascinating read. And I haven't even read it yet. It's that new. And so, but I did want to get Cheryl on to promote it a little bit and promote what she does. So, Cheryl, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And best of luck with this book. And I know that you and I will talk again very soon.
Yeah, I will.
All right, Cheryl. You have a good night. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And bye-bye. All right, guys. That was Cheryl Lynn Carter, good friend of mine. And you know the link where to find the book. This is strange stuff. This is stuff I don't know enough about. And I see Ruben. Ruben is over in the wings again. He's waving to me now. I'll try again, Ruben. We were having some difficulty. Let's bring Ruben in for a couple of minutes here. Here we go, brother. Misu, can you hear me now?
I was wishing to talk to Cheryl a little bit about the Ghost Road.
Yes.
I've had a couple of people die recently, and in Lakota way, and I would love to hear Cheryl say what the Ghost Road is. And in the Indian way, the Ghost Road is the Milky Way. And when you travel that Ghost Road from north to south, you come across a fork. In the fork, you see my fingers, one is shorter than the other. And so in the middle is an old woman that checks your hand for a tattoo or your forehead. I don't know what it is. But he says, Scotty, did you have a good life? And if you lie and say, yeah, I had a great life, you go down the short road. And then you fall off, you come back to Earth, and you're reincarnated. But if you did say truly, Scotty, did you live a good life? I did. You go down the Ghost Road, the Milky Way. That's the Milky Way. So when you look, everybody should look at the Milky Way as the Ghost Road, and you follow, and you go on beyond. God knows what it is. Nirvana, heaven, whatever it is.
Right.
So
I get that. I get that part of it anyway. Not being able to readily identify it. So, Misu, I'm going to wrap up this show. Thanks for calling back in and your patience. Had a tough time getting you in here and communicating tonight. So I love you, brother. I will talk to you soon. All right, folks. So hopefully that gives you a good taste for what Cheryl has written about in her book. And so go check her out. Go find her on Facebook. Go look at her website, and you can take a look at what she does. And these are some interesting questions, and I would like to delve some of these things a little bit deeper. The whole issue of areas, even right here in the United States, we always think of these things happening in other places, third world countries, the Middle East, Africa, China, all these other places around the world, but we don't think about the fact that a lot of this takes place right here. It's in our own backyards. Who was it? Doug Stack was mentioning tonight. I think it's called the Texas Wall. Have you guys seen anything about the Texas Wall? I didn't hear about that until very recently. This big ancient wall built out of stone that runs for, I don't even know how long it is. I want to say miles in my head, but I don't know if it's that long. But down in this little town, outside of a little town in Texas, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it runs forever, and it's ancient. And so things like that, rock wall, Doug Stack said. And so there are places like that. We know. Who was asking me today? Was that today? No, it was last night. Yesterday afternoon, I was on another interview with talking about, the topic was about Nephilim, but I was talking with a South African radio station in an interview. And he was asking questions about the giants and about pre-civilizations and so on. And when you look at it and you say, there's a lot about this planet and a lot about this earth that we don't know anything about, it becomes fascinating topics. And I want to get into doing some more topics on that and talking about some of these things. Matt Finn says the town is named Rockwall, but I think it has a reasonable natural explanation. I'm sure it does. Gosh, I wonder what that could be. But there was also something else that before we go, that my mind was spurred on here just a moment ago. So there was a flash, and I thought, oh, talk about that thing before you forget to. And now I can't think of what it was. So, I was just going to make mention last night. We were talking about the historical Jesus. And Matt Finn sent me a link. And you guys should look this up, too. It's an interesting documentary. James Cameron, same guy who did Titanic, responsible for Avatar and those movies, he made this documentary. And utilizing some specialists about the Jesus family tomb. Now, if you haven't seen that, it's pretty cool. I'd seen it before. Matt sent me the link, and I started watching it again late last night. Really good stuff. And it's something that is really highly with I had a call coming in. Sorry, folks. I had to try to dismiss it so it wouldn't ring through the whole rest of what I'm talking about here. This tomb is filled with all kinds of signs that seem to indicate there is an historical connection to the Jesus family. And so it might be well worth watching as we're going through this series talking about the historical Jesus. Go look it up. Rudy, I don't have the link off the top of my head unless you give me just a moment. I think I can find it for you guys, and I'll paste it. I know Matt Finn gave it to me last night. Matt, if you have it handy, could you post that link again? Otherwise, I'm going to have to go look it up here, and I don't want to have to look it up. So it's very interesting stuff. Matt Finn, is that the one? Okay, yeah, it's a YouTube link. YouTube.be. I'm not sure if that's the same thing. So, anyway, folks, go look it up. The Talpiot Tomb. If you can't find that, Talip, is it OT or AT? The Talpiot Tomb. Or the Jesus family tomb. I'm typing this into the and James Cameron is in it, and Shimka Yakubovici is in it. Yakubovici. I spelled that right. So if you go look those up, use those as your keywords over here in YouTube, and you'll be able to find, I'm very sure, that video. So I thought it was pretty good. I saw that a few years ago when they first came out with it. And they worked on the statistics, if this is the same documentary, I think it is. And because it had Shimka Yakubovici in it, I believe it was the same one where they used a statistician to, with each find in each little segment from this tomb, and they started taking it and exploring it and breaking it down. And with each step they took, they reran the figures and the numbers and the statistics. And it started off like 1,000,000 to 1 or something. It was some really wildly, this is the Jesus family tomb. The chances are it's 1,000,000 to 1. It was a different number than that, but something like that. Might have been 7,000,000 to 1. By the time they had gone through all of the family and looked at all the historical data that they could match up to it, they ended up with something like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, you might know this off the top of your head, but it was something like the chances were reduced down to like 2 to 1 that this is not the Jesus family tomb. And Sean Stroik said, could this be the real tomb of Christ? Jesus Lost Tomb. You know what the tomb is? They're saying it's the family of Jesus. It's got all the names of his brothers, all the names, the name of his mother is there. It talks about on the bone boxes, the ossuaries, Jesus Bar Yashov, Jesus the son of Joseph. And it's got all these different facts that they bring out. So it's fascinating, worth watching if you get a chance. And if you don't get a chance to watch it, we might cover some of those facts when I get them a little more straight in my head and I know what I'm talking about. Hey, Ryan Gale, happen to see you there. Good to have you here. David Castle, glad you made it in. And Sean Stroik, of course, good to see you. Some of you, I didn't get to see you as we were going along during the show tonight, but I'm glad you made it in. And Brianna's sick, huh? Thanks, everyone. I'm hoping this is just a cold related to allergies. I know we got a lot of allergies going on in this household right now. Everybody coughing and hacking and wheezing, and Rainey's got migraine building up right now and all day. She's been the last couple of days kind of under the weather. And so she's supposed to do massages tomorrow, and if she doesn't feel better in the morning, she's not doing them. So so I don't think it's anything super serious. I think she's got migraines going on, and the allergies are kicking her butt, kicking Flynn's butt. And even our little girls are getting it a little bit. So keep everybody in your mind. And so, folks, that's it. That's all I got for tonight. I hope you enjoyed our guest tonight. And take a look at her book. Go look it up. I've got the link in the chat room. And I think the link is also in the description to this show here on YouTube. Go take a look, pick it up, and see what you think. I'd love to hear your reports on it. So, folks, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. And you know what? Live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.